Value investing is easily one of the most popular ways to find great stocks in any market environment. After all, who wouldn't want to find stocks that are either flying under the radar and are compelling buys or offer up huge discounts when compared to fair value? And so, we are going to look at Greif, that's Greif, which engages in providing industrial packaging products and services. And we're going to do it by looking at a list of Wall Street metrics. Good grief. I'm going to make it so easy, even Charlie Brown can do it. Let's take a look. Greif has a trailing 12-month PE ratio of 9.30. This level compares favorably with the overall market, as the PE for the S&P 500 is about 18.34. If we focus on the long-term PE trend, Greif's current PE level puts it below its historical midpoint over the past 5 years. The PE also compares favorably with the industrial products sector trailing 12-month PE ratio, which is about 15.90. Another key metric to note is the price to sales ratio. Right now, Greif has a price to sales ratio of about 0.39. This is lower than the S&P 500 average, which comes in over 3.0. This is also below the historical highs going back the past few years. If anything, Greif is in the lower end of its historical range, suggesting it may be undervalued. The PEG ratio for Greif is just 1.07, a level that is far lower than the industry average of 1.40. If you're unfamiliar with the PEG ratio, it's a modified PE ratio that takes into account the stock's earnings growth rate. Another ratio, the price to cash flow, comes in at 5.05, which is lower than the industry average of 8.94. Clearly, by several measures, GEF is a solid choice on the value front. Meanwhile, the company's recent third-party earnings estimates have been mixed at best. During the current quarter, two earnings estimates have gone lower in the past 60 days compared to one estimate going higher. Similarly, third-party estimates for the current year have seen two upward revisions compared to one downward revision for the same time period. Given the mixed indications, it's hard to get too excited about Greif. So value investors might want to wait for increasing estimates and industry trends to turn favorable. But once that happens, Greif may already be on its way. So let's turn to the charts to see what they indicate. And we're looking at the 20-year monthly chart on Greif Inc., and the symbol is GEF. For disclosure purposes, I do not hold any shares of Greif at this time. And as we can see from the price chart here, it's hit this level 3 times since, say, about late 2008. Now, it went through here in early 2016. That's a small violation in my humble opinion. And we bounced off of it here just recently. And we're at 38.35, the close on Thursday. Moving here into the MAC, we can see that the MAC also has this sort of line, lower level line here. Again, very similar to the price chart. And it looks like the fast line is reflecting off and slightly turning up here just in the last month or so. And that is also shown here in the histogram where you can see the bottoming or basing here in this area just right near that -2. So it's not really all that significantly negative. And into the price rate of change, certainly looks like there's the basing period here with the fast line just moving through the slow line recently and looks like it wants to continue up. Not all that dissimilar to that there. Here, 2009 was a bit deeper, but there's some similarities as well. Into the RSI, we have a 42.55 measure, which is relatively weak, yet it again is bouncing off. This is bouncing up well above that 20 line, and it looks like we're heading on up to that midline or 50 line. So that looks positive as well. into the stochastics. The same thing. A bottom or basing here in this area. Maybe not too much like this. This is took a little bit longer here. Perhaps maybe this, and maybe even 2009, at least in this oscillator, looks pretty similar. So we're heading on up with a fast line, just moving through that slow line there. Volume looks fine, and then the Williams also looks like it is basing with that bottom here and that reflection on up out of that oversold territory, heading on up. Like to see that get to that midline or 50 line. Back up here to the price chart. So the indications are relatively mixed, but the chart is relatively clear. In my humble opinion, the chart shows that things are improving for Greif. So, as usual, conduct your analysis, your due diligence on the fundamentals. And for today, that's ChewDog Charts. Thank you.